she stars in, and he wrote and directs the new film, Strictly Confidential, out on Monday. And I think we all agree it's never too early for Elizabeth and Damian Hurley.
Come on! What about that, guys? Happy?
Oh, hello.
All right, well, welcome. But can you feel the vibe in here today?
I can feel the vibe and I love
Great,
it.
isn't it? What do you think, Damien?
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having us. Well, welcome.
And you saw John Cleese on the way out?
We saw John Cleese, who I've known since the 90s. He's played my dad before. I've done TV with him. I love him.
Yeah, I love him too.
The
I call
best.
him Daddy Cleese.
Yeah, he's
Daddy
the best.
Cleese.
We love him.
Original Daddy Cheese, of course.
Daddy Cheese.
That was his name.
Monsieur Le Fromage.
And, right, so tell us about your little boy. Tell us about your mum. Damien, you go first.
Oh, God, I've got to say, doing this film together was the most amazing experience. It was... everyone always argues against working with family. I love it. I think I only want to work with family from now on. You're just constantly supported, constantly surrounded by people who have only your best interests at heart and no agenda. It was amazing.
So how'd you get your mum to be in your film?
I begged.
Did you promise to do all the washing up?
No, when I originally offered her as part, it was a tiny, tiny part, just one day, shooting a flashback part as
And
someone
then she
dead.
got the old sharp elbows in there.
Yeah, and then I just and then I flipped around. There's a husband and wife in this film. Originally, the wife had died, the husband was a very important part, and then I flipped it around, and the wife was remaining and alive, and I begged her, and I said, look, go away, read this script, see if you like it, I'd love you to do this, and thank God she did, and the rest is history.
All right, so
Confidential
Damien, you're
was
still
born.
22, is that right?
Yeah, just turned 22.
22 years young, and he's now written and directed this film with his mum. I watched it last night. I really enjoyed it. I completely got it. Some people aren't getting it. That's because they're stupid. Rusty, Dusty and Crusty. Look, it's a proper murder mystery. It's a potentially double murder mystery, no spoilers. But it's like, see a Junior White Lotus, see Death in Paradise meets Hollyoaks meets Beverly Hill 90210, meets a bit of American Pie, actually. I'm going to go in with that as well. Tell us about your little boy, Liz, in this project.
My little boy. Well, my little boy has been filming me since he was about 9 or 10 years old, and I gave him his first camcorder, writing little sketches, which came to little mini movies. And just through the years, he's sort of tortured everyone he knows to be in his movies. He ruined many family holidays when I'd suddenly see an extra suitcase. I'm like, what's in that? He'd be like, costumes and props. So we had to make another movie for him. So he's been doing it for so long that it just seemed actually like a natural progression to make a real film when he got the chance.
But the story, storytelling is an art. Story writing is an art. It's all about the script. It's all about the words on the page, first of all. But then there's a murder mystery. It's got to have the plots. It's got to have the twists, and we can all put on a school play, and it can be funny and the audience is there and they all want it to do well. But to make a feature film at the age of 22, now imagine you're not here, Damien. We're going to talk about you, not to you. But he writes it when he was 19. I mean, what an undertaking. And I think he might have pulled it off.
Well, it's a really ballsy undertaking, I think. I think when you're younger, you haven't had as many knocks as we have when you're older, where, you learn to,
well, you're
take
fearless,
those punches.
aren't you, as opposed to courageous?
Yeah, and you're fearless, and I think you need to be. And I think he wanted to learn on his feet, and he did. And we all know it's better to be in the environment in which you want to work, learn with the best and try your hardest. And I think he really did that. And he had full command of his set. He can now manage a crew. He got on incredibly well with his actors. They're all still his best friends. They all text each other every day. And so to me, he achieved what he needed to set out to achieve. This movie is very different to the next movie he's going to make, which is, I think it's safe to say, it's more mature. It's in a different ballpark. This is definitely a movie written by a young adult, starring young adults, obviously apart from me. And,
but you provide the context.
For young adults. And that's what it was always intended to be. It's a fun romp. It's got some sad themes. He's pulling on some sadness that he had to deal with when he was much too young to have to deal with that sort of sadness. And he's brought some of those elements into it, but he wanted to make a fun entertainment for young people.
All right, so you haven't got the funding yet, okay? You've thought about the casting, but you're not quite sure. You're happy with, say, the 7th draft of the script, and you're pitching the film to me. Go.
Is this new film, old film?
This film, so people know what it's about. Basically.
Oh, God, okay. This film is about a young girl who is haunted by the death of her best friend, and she's desperately hunting for answers and trying to find out the truth. And along the way, she goes on a sometimes absurd, fun journey trying to uncover the truth. There's lots of secrets, lots of betrayal, lots of lies, all set under the beautiful Caribbean sun. And, this film's fun. We made it for not a lot of money, not a lot of time. It's not my submission to be the next Godfather, but I love it, and I really hope people do too.
All right, so tell us about your character, Elizabeth.
Well, my character, my daughter committed suicide a year before the movie starts, and I also lost my husband. So I'm grieving, and I call all the friends of my departed daughter back to the island where I live in the Caribbean to commemorate her death. But Mia, our protagonist, has never been able to accept that her best friend would kill herself. It didn't make sense. And when she gets to the island, instead of just remembering Rebecca, my daughter, she decides to delve into why she could possibly do what she did. And she starts to find and uncover secrets, betrayals, lies, cover-ups, and she starts to find out what really happened to Rebecca. Yeah. And it's her adventure.
And it all makes sense, and it unfolds, and it's cool. Everyone's beautiful. Was that a prerequisite? Because everybody is beautiful in this film. It's like, my goodness me, this might be the most beautifully cast film of all time.
Well, Damian really wanted to show beautiful people in a beautiful place, and then wanted to watch the darkness come up.
Now, that's the White Lotus bit for me. You're a big fan of White Lotus, aren't you?
I love White Lotuses. I think it's one of the most phenomenal shows ever made.
Okay, other favourites of yours, other inspirations?
Oh, God, I love all European cinema. I love, what's my favourite show? And now my mind's gone completely blank. I'm watching again season 1 of The Tourist, Jamie Dornan, which I think is phenomenal.
Yeah, we love that. We were about to start watching season 2, and then we realised we couldn't remember anything, and so now watching season 1 again before we can watch season 2. Because we're like, what? Who are they?
Are you Big Little Lies fans? And
yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
We like a lot of TV. We just love it.
Well, because TV's super TV now, isn't it? We talk about it all the time. Yeah. It's like it all has to be movie quality. And even if you're you sort of producing a game show, you've got to get a Hollywood A-lister to host it. That kind of, which I like.
Me too. I love it.
It's so cool. So being around your son's set and having been around lots of other sets in the past, he's running the show. Yeah.
Yep.
But obviously, exec-wise, unofficially exec-wise, I'm not saying you were, but how could you not? Because you're his mum and you love him and you've been an actor and been around these situations before. How much do you have to bite your lip in that situation?
Well, so I had 2 roles in this. So I was in it and I was also producing it.
Yeah.
So I helped enormously, and there was no lip biting in the producing part of it because I knew, having worked with Damian for 10 years in an unofficial capacity, I knew that he could control his set, and I knew he'd get the performances he wanted to get. I had no worries about that. But I also knew, because he was so young and inexperienced, that the complications of making a movie, all the pre-production, the problems that happened during production, and of course the horror of the post-production sometimes, I knew that he needed a lot of help with that. And we didn't fight about any of that. He just knew scheduling. I can see it and I can know it. I know how much you can shoot in a day, and I know the contingencies you have to have. I know the weather cover you have to have. I know what happens if the track breaks. All that stuff I know. He, of course, didn't know. So that I could be fully in charge of. But once we stepped onto the set and he was my boss, I didn't have to do anything.
Okay.
He was the boss.
Tell us about directing your mum, Damian.
You know what? I have to say, she's excellent. And every single day I was just in awe of her as a performer and as being so insanely just consummate professional. But no, I really, it was a very strange dynamic. When you're so similar to someone and when you know someone inside out and backwards, you have to watch yourself that you don't go too familiar and bring too much personal, family, anything onto set. Because, with an actor, normally one's very polite and very careful and very and there's a temptation, of course, when you know someone really well, just to cut to the chase really fast.
Okay, so that means he could move me. So if it's an actor, obviously you can't just shove them out of the way when they've missed their mark. With me, he could just come and shove me. You missed your mark. Boom. Instead of, I think you can cut to it faster, right?
Yeah.
When it's a family member,
Get rid of
you can be a little less polite and you can move it faster, which is quite good.
Your character, rather, not you. Your character ends up quite beaten and battered and bruised. Is that a first for you in movies? I can't remember. I can't remember you being in that situation before.
I think I've had a few. I think even in The Royals, I had a black eye when I was having sex with a member of staff in the cellar, and a Christmas pudding fell on my face. I seem to think I had a black eye from that.
And they're not unheavy, are they, those Christmas
They're not
puds?
unheavy. I've injured myself a great deal on set. I've had so many sprained ankles. Well, in fact, I tore all the ligaments in my ankle a year before filming this, so I still wasn't allowed really to wear high heels. So I had to have assistance with that. It's better now.
And Damian, what about the shooting schedule? How long did you have to make the film?
We had 18 shooting days.
What?
Yeah.
18 days? See, that deserves an Academy Award anyway.
Doesn't it?
That was intense. But, my first movie, landing on the
18
ground.
days?
I know.
Yeah, we had to shoot really fast, and there was no. So before Damian's very first day of shooting, we were prepped up to the eyeballs, and he had this beautiful scene to shoot. And we woke up to the storm from hell. So he
Code
had
red tornado warning.
But the thing is,
for my
when
peaceful
you're-
scene on the beach.
when there's not enough money and not enough time, we had a real hard get out because it was Christmas, and if we didn't get everybody out,
So he had all the
they'd
pressure.
have been stuck.
Brilliant.
So
So
he
no
had to
reshoot days,
He had
nothing.
to, on his feet, quickly reconceive this film in a crashing, raging storm instead of in the paradise he'd shot it. So he had things like that, which ordinarily you have a little contingency, but we didn't have contingencies
Right.
for anything like that. So he just had to get on with it,
Yeah.
which is good for him.
What was your hairiest moment?
Possibly that. Rewriting it was my...
Costumes,
Oh,
customs.
God. This
Costumes,
was-
customs?
So, yeah,
Whoa!
about a week before we were meant to film, 80% of our costumes got denied entry at the border and were shipped back to the
Why?
US.
Just because.
Yeah. And so I had to persuade my kind and loyal 60-year-old male godfather to cram these 80 bikinis and ladies' thongs and heels and stuff into his suitcase and fly them in as his personal
Say they're
smuggle
all
them
for
in.
me.
His personal, yeah,
He did.
And he was stopped at the border.
Yeah, you wanna
with
go there, guys?
These people sifting through his bikinis. Going, of course they're my bikinis. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? It's 2024.
That's a great. Who in their right mind is going to argue with that?
Yeah.
You're going to end up on the front page of the Daily Mail if you argue with that as a customs officer.
Yeah, you would now, right?
Yeah, I don't believe you. Why don't you believe me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sit down. How long you got? I got all day. Fill your boots. Fill my high heels. Fill your boots. Cool.
Now.
Young cast. All right.
Young, excellent cast.
Excellent. No, really. Mia. I mean, they're all great, to be honest.
Georgia Locke, who plays our protagonist Mia, has become one of my best friends in the world.
So
She's
good.
gorgeous,
They're all
isn't she?
really intense.
Yeah, she's a
when they
lovely
want to be,
actress.
aren't they?
Yeah.
That's fun, isn't it? That's all the fun.
Yeah.
And there's Mum, Queen Bee at the dinner table. Your character also reminds me of the Narco lady. Do you remember the Narco series we watched?
Oh, yes.
Oh, the recent one. I can't
Oh, yeah,
remember.
Griselda.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's got a bit of Griselda going on.
She had a little
Don't
bit.
you think?
Hasn't it?
Yeah, she does.
She's got a bit of
Hair,
Griselda.
yeah.
No, but also the matriarchal, I'm this and that, but I'm not.
But you know what was really interesting? Because it was once the film had been greenlit, when
Yeah.
he switched the gender of my character, because of course that wasn't really going to be me, that was going to be a man.
Yeah.
And I was going to be drifting along the cliffs in flashbacks. But think what a different movie it would have been had my character been male.
Yeah.
And, the things that character ends up doing and the involvement, it would have been such a different thing.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting that, 5 years ago, that would have stayed a man who would have been having a relationship with one of his daughter's friends.
Yeah.
We've seen it a billion times and it's distasteful and we hate it.
Yeah.
But I think by switching that gender like you did,
And keeping everything else exactly
what a difference
the
it
same.
made.
What's the triangle film called? The one that went
Triangle
crazy.
of Sadness?
What's that?
Triangle of Sadness?
Triangle. It's got a bit of that going on as well because it gets so mad at one point. You go,
Yeah.
because those reveals they get mad. Mia goes. Mia is the protagonist. She's sort of the unofficial Poirot / Sherlock Holmes / Cagney and Lacey of the whole thing. She's not happy. She thinks no. None of this makes any sense. But then she's confronted with such a shocking scenario. Little does she know, it's the first of quite a few shocking scenarios. And there's one which she's suffering all the shock. So she goes to find Liz's character to sort of have a big hug and a big cry, and then she finds the most shocking scenario of all, and that's when it gets really Triangle of Sadness.
Well, I wanted that part to be absurd, and I love it. And I've got to say, in all our screenings so far, people have wet their pants at that bit, and it's made me laugh so
Because
much.
it's
My
meant
favorite
to be.
Because
Yeah.
it's real.
meant to be.
Oh my god!
And Mia has a line where she goes, "This can't be real," and it's true. It's meant to be completely absurd.
Good for
by
you.
that point.
Good
Yeah.
for you, mate.
Thank you so much.
See, that's a 19-year-old's mind on that script. Do you know what I mean?
It's a young adult.
That's
I
a
know.
young adult
Yeah.
going, I don't care. I'm not worried about what anybody thinks about this.
I
I'm
know.
just writing why. Look at you. that expression. Don't you yearn for that mindset, Liz?
Of course we do. Where anything can happen because you're on the controls.
And you don't care.
And I love it when they do that.
Well done, mate. Well
Thank
done.
you so much.
Super
Thank
duper. What did you learn?
Oh God, you know what? I knew I'd be fine going into it with the actual parts of my job that were, actually writing, actually directing, actually working with the actors, actually getting the shots. I was unprepared for the mind-boggling logistical hell that is thrown at you from every angle that has nothing to do with your jobs. The trucks haven't turned up, there's a tornado warning, you're being dived on by mosquitoes, you're losing the light, you've got 8 scenes today, but there's da-da-da, and all of the above. And I've really learnt that. That has now prepared me for the rest of my career to be able to face all of those.
I look at the movie industry, and I've been around it, a bit, off and on over the years, and I'm like, how has a single movie ever got made?
I couldn't
Every
agree more.
movie is a war.
And I think I knew this going in, but what I really, really saw is how important it is that the creator and the person who's trying to really ends up, everything's on them. They can't be bogged down by the crap and the minutiae. Oh my!
Do you know what I mean?
Now,
Gladiator.
Everything we watch now, we're just like, how do they do that?
It's just a whole different level of respect.
When the extras come in, it's a nightmare.
Oh, I have nightmares about
crane
extras.
shot.
I wake up sweating. I know.
We do. They are amazing. But
have you seen Zulu?
Machines.
Yes,
right.
My favourite films ever.
Talking of extras,
Hello, can you imagine?
There's 3,000. There's 3,000.
And no digitalisation.
Yeah.
They were there.
There's 3,000. No CGI. There's can you tell the 3,000 extras on the right that the 5,000 extras on the left are walking a bit quicker than them?
I mean,
sorry.
And these big masters, they didn't cut in. Remember, they had to get the master
Lawrence
right.
of Arabia. Check that out this weekend. Check that out this weekend.
You haven't seen that either. That's also one of my favourites.
Oh, it's one of the greatest films of all time. I watched it with my 5-year-old about 7 years ago because he was having a bit of a day, and my wife was out. And I thought, I'll just try Lawrence of Arabia. We'd done Tom and Jerry, we'd done Teletubbies, where else?
Scooby-Doo.
Peppa Pig, we played that out. And I thought, I'd just go curveball. Watch the whole thing, 3 hours, because it's so spellbinding.
God, I love Peter O'Toole in it.
David Lee used to live down the road over here.
Just heaven. It's exquisite.
You're in a great business, my friend. I mean, radio is the opposite of the movies. And, they scare the life. I watched them and I started, my cold,
went hives, just thinking, how do they organise it? I know.
We sometimes think, how are we going to get through a 3.5 hours? All we've got to do is talk and play some Beatles records. We've got to make movies. And it takes Emma Thompson 10 years to get a movie made. She's Emma Thompson.
And she's Emma Thompson, yeah.
God. I was thinking about Austin Powers yesterday, knowing you were coming on. Just give us a bit of Austin Powers chat, if you don't mind. Yeah. No, but
I mean, that
was 20 years ago now?
It was 30.
It
wasn't.
Not.
It was 25.
25.
About 25.
But yeah.
I get asked two questions all the time.
It was BD.
It was definitely BD.
Yeah,
it was. It was 97, I think.
Before Damian.
Yeah, so it's getting to 30 years. You know what? It's just, it still goes down as one of my happiest memories ever.
Such a great film. You are amazing in that.
Well, that's very sweet of you. It was an adorable film to make, and then Burt Bacharach died, I think last year or the year before. Yeah. So I had to look at it all again because we have a scene with him on the top of a double-decker bus, and I've actually I don't have many photographs in my house of me, but I've got one of me, Mike Myers, and Burt Bacharach because for me, having Burt Bacharach was just like one of the sexiest things in the world because I loved him, and it was just that period of time just epitomises a very different time to me. BD, pre-Damian. And a different life, a different time.
Different you.
Different me. Yeah. Young, excited.
Yeah.
Opportunities. Opening up.
Fearless again.
Yeah, much more fearless. And it was a wonderful time. So I think if I ever watch a clip of that or something, or I'm reminded of it, or there's little memes they put on YouTube and stuff all the time, and on my Instagram feed, bits from that. And it's one of my loveliest memories. I love it.
It's a great film.
Because he was a great guy, Mike Myers. Yeah. He was I think he's one of the funniest comedians along with John Cleese that have ever existed. And what I really liked about Mike, because he used to make me wet my pants on set, but he said you know what, with my humour, he said nothing's cruel, it's just funny. And if you watch anything he's ever done, there's no meanness in anything. So it's daft. It's just silly because he hit both his parents. They're Canadian, but they were both from Liverpool, so his blood is completely British. And he has that silly sense of humour, and it's not mean. It's never cruel. And I love that. You don't feel bad about yourself for laughing.
Does he live on Hawaii, or have I mentioned that?
I don't know. Does he live in Hawaii?
I think he may live in Hawaii.
Or Maui?
Jealous.
Yeah, maybe
Maui
he does.
Sorry, the Hawaiian
maybe
Islands.
he does. Maybe he does.
And what was great about the Austin Powers films is, you had to wait 5 or 6 years for one, but the one before the one that we were waiting for was always so ever present. It didn't seem like 5 years, but it took him ages to sort of masterly craft those tight, pithy scenes.
Yeah, and he did it through improv. Because I remember when I arrived in LA to shoot the first one, I remember when the script came, I was still with my then boyfriend Hugh, and we were making a movie together in Toronto. I was producing, Hugh was in it. And this script came through. I was like, I don't understand. What is this? I started to read it, and he looked over my shoulder and went, oh, it's Mike Myers, say yes. He's a genius.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? He went, just say yes. I'm like, okay, yes, I'll do it. Then I read it, and I was like, Jesus Christ, it is so out there. But I was like, okay, I'm on board. And I hadn't done any comedy before at all. I was like, what the hell? And then we all met up, and he said, well, come to this improv place in LA. We're doing an improv tonight, and I'm going to be in costume. And he had that wonderful girl from the Bangles, whose husband, actually, Jay, directed it, and Suzanne. And he said, we're just doing some improv around it. And they sang that song, BBC One, BBC Two, all about people. And they just improvised these scenes. And I was like, what in God's name? Because I can't improvise to save my life. I was like, what am I doing? And then we got to the set for the first day. And the first day was on this set they built for the plane where he was spinning on that bed saying, do I make you horny, with his bottom in the air? And I was sitting there being very uptight. And I was just like, he's the best person I've ever met in my life. I don't know what we're making, but let's just go for it. But nobody got it at first.
Massive film.
It was extraordinary, but the first film was a really slow build because people were just like, what is this?
Yeah.
And then it became culty leading up to the release of the second, which then was, a massive, massive success.
Yeah.
But that was just all Mike, who just totally believed in the comedy he was doing and knew it was funny. And it was, but Americans were just like, what is this?
It was Noah, who's 15 now. It was his first naughty film that he watched.
Same with him.
Yeah.
And they didn't get it. They didn't.
We're too young to get it.
They didn't get any of the rude bits.
Well,
they just knew it was
the
hysterical.
classic double-tiered comedy, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a genius. He's a brilliant man.
Listen, we have one in the making here. Well done, Damian. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Really, thank you.
Well done. Strictly Confidential, out on Prime Video and Apple TV on Monday. So it's not out today, it's on Monday. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
You're always welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Virgin Radio.